I've been using acrylic paint for over a decade, but it's only recently I felt like I've begun to actually understand it. Here are 5 things I wish somebody had told me when I was first starting out. The number one concern most people seem to have with acrylic paint is how fast it dries. Whilst there are slow drying additives you can buy, I prefer the cheaper option of using a wet palette. Wet palettes can be made at home out of cheap materials, and I personally like using a shallow Tupperware container with a layer of parchment paper over the top. In general, I've found that brown parchment paper seems to let a little too much moisture through. It waters down the paint after a few hours, but this might not be the case for all brands. You want just a thin layer of water between both, not touching the paint, but hydrating the paper that the paint is sat on top of. With this setup and the lid off, I found that my paints stay wet for over 24 hours, and with the lid on, as much as 3 days. Unless your style involves over 50% of the canvas remaining white, don't start with a white canvas. Quite literally anything else is better, both to help with painting accuracy and in terms of visual interest. Hello? What do you want? Are you just here for a visit? Okay. A very common one is coating the entire canvas in burnt sienna, or another neutral warm tone, but honestly you could go for anything. Warm, cold, multicolored, or for something like this, I even coated everything in a super dark, almost black purple, and then sort of worked backwards with the highlights. To be honest, a lot of artists end up painting over most of this initial background anyway, so whilst it might feel pointless, I've noticed the quality of my work improve drastically since implementing it. Now, did you know that when you buy acrylic paints, some are more transparent than others? I was constantly frustrated with my yellow, as it needed about 20 layers to do what I wanted, and for a long time, I blamed this on poor quality paints. Well, it turns out not all pigments are made equal, and most manufacturers tell you so on the bottle. My primary yellow has half a square coloured in, whereas this ochre is far more opaque with a full square. This is confirmed when I flip the bottle over, as it contains a description on the back. It can't be just me that didn't know this, surely. A really good way to make that primary yellow less transparent is to mix in some of those more opaque colours. A bit of ochre, a bit of white, and let's do an experiment to prove it's a bit better. I'm going to do 3 layers of each, and on the left is just primary yellow, and on the right is about half primary yellow mixed with some ochre and some white. By the 3rd layer, you can see that whilst neither are perfect, the combination of colours on the right is definitely working better than the yellow on its own. For anyone that didn't know, I actually took a break from painting for about 6 years to learn Photoshop and 3D modelling amongst other things, and found out that I love working in multiple layers. It helps break things down in my brain so I can focus on lighting and colouring separately. If this sounds like you, may I introduce acrylic medium? No longer do you have to blend colours right on the canvas. You can create a monochromatic underpainting, either in black and white or shades of brown or whatever you like, and then add additional colours over the top. Acrylic medium makes your paint more transparent, without watering down the consistency. I use matte medium because I don't like my paintings to end up glossy, but as long as the medium you use is for acrylic paints, you can really use any type or brand. Whilst I don't use it in all of my pieces, it's definitely a great tool to have on hand, and a fantastic way to stretch out the last of a colour you didn't quite mix enough of. The final thing I wish I had known is that you should use big brushes for as long as possible. Nope, bigger than that. Trust me, you can do more with it than you think. I still struggle with this. Thoughts like, the paint could end up in the wrong place, the highlights will be too chunky, it'll just be easier if I size down. And here's the secret. If you want to get quicker and more expressive with your painting, you have to learn to embrace the big brushes. Shrinking in brush size too soon will make your paintings take triple the time, if not more. Trust me, it's a trap I've fallen in far too much. Learning to paint faster and looser are two of my main focuses, so many of the videos on this channel will be focused around those skills. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, make sure to stick around for future videos.